cops, I swear.
Holy sh**. Oh my goodness. I'm honestly tired of food. Like, food isn't fooding anymore.
You see, humans are a unique type of pest.
Yo, at this point, Louisiana, baby, Louisiana not gonna be a state no more. Look.
What up, man? Kazi here, giving you another react. I found the most creepiest, most disturbing TikToks on the darkest corners of the web. So sit back, relax, observe, and let's get into it, y'all. Roll the clip.
Scientists recreated a star by taking a vat of water, putting an air bubble in the center of it, and then passing a sound wave through it. This caused the air bubble to collapse upon itself, creating heat and light. Did you notice how they recreated a star in a vat of water, not in an empty vacuum? So all of the ancient cultures around the world understood that what was above us was some sort of liquid substance. Some people have even called it the ether, which is the fifth element that was taken out of the four elements that we have now. There's five: earth, water, air, fire, and ether. Ether is the substance, the spirit that holds everything together. It is the unmanifest, giving power to the manifest. So when you look up at the sky, what you're seeing is angles of light, sacred geometry. That's what the angels are. When they're describing angels in the Bible, pay attention to how it's describing it. The stars are not millions of miles away, but entertainment only.
I have a question. How many people have ever lived? And how many of those are alive right now? So we made a graph. It's wild. So you start here, around when we think our species started to appear, based on archaeological remains. And during this whole part, scientists think there are as many people born per hour today as in all of humanity back then. And for the next 190,000 years, our population barely budged. But then, these geniuses started farming. More food, but also more disease. And still fewer people alive than in Australia today. But growing, all of a sudden, until in the Middle Ages, whoop, that's the Black Death. The Black Death killed 1 out of every 3 humans alive at the time. Okay, scientific revolution. Now things really start to get moving. Now we're passing 1 billion humans. It had taken all of human history to reach that point. But with modern medicine and new discoveries and treatments, watch this. So if you added up all the people who have ever lived, you'd reach a rough estimate of 117 billion people. And since there are 8.2 billion people alive right now, that means that 7% of all the people who have ever lived are alive today. That's you. So if you think there should be more optimistic science and tech stories, follow along.
Target just had to admit that your personal data is deciding how much you pay for groceries. A new law in New York forces retailers to disclose if an algorithm uses your personal data to set prices. It's called algorithmic pricing. Here's how it works. The store tracks your location, your browser history, and your spending habits to guess exactly how much you're willing to pay. In one example, a carton of eggs cost $1.99 in one neighborhood, but jumped to $2.29 in another. Same eggs, same website, different data. New York is currently the only state forcing them to admit this, which means in the other 49 states, you're likely paying a personal data tax on your coffee, and they don't even have to tell you.
Rules for thee, but not for me.
From the pit, the smoke rose, and with it came the locusts, faces like kings, armored in black. Their wings spat lightning, and their breath turned the air to blood. They poured over the towers of Tokyo.
I've been on Adderall for like a few years now, and when I first got it, I was like way overprescribed. So I was wired 24/7, and it honestly felt great, but I didn't realize that people could tell, and you could really like see it in my eyes first. And I know I already have like pretty big eyes, but I'm going to show you guys this clip of when I was in my company's like internship commercial, and it was just so bad.
And I've never reached people on that scale before, and I think getting a chance to do something like that was a pretty great experience.
You start to gain weight, you start to gain belly fat, you can't see it anymore. The vessels in the penis don't work anymore. You start to get erectile dysfunction. That's why I say fasting insulin less than 6 saves the dick, sporting wood.
Nice rhyme. That the human world was disrupting this harmony. You see, humans are a unique type of pest, multiplying and poisoning our world, all while enforcing a structure of their own, a deeply unnatural structure. Where others saw order, I saw a straitjacket. A cruel, oppressive world dictated by made-up rules. Seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, years, decades, each life a faded, lesser copy of the one before. Wake up, eat, work, sleep, reproduce, and die. Everyone is just waiting for it all to be over, all while performing in a silly, terrible play day after day. I could not do that. I could not close off my mind and join in the madness. I could not pretend. And I realized I didn't have to. I could make my own rules. I could restore balance to a broken world. A predator. But for good. As I practiced, I realized I could do more than I possibly imagined.
I don't know, man. Something about that show, Stranger Things. It's all becoming a reality. What do y'all think?
Chops, I swear.
Oh my goodness. 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 A plane just crashed onto a car on a highway right in front of us. Holy wow.
For absolutely no reason at all, I want to show you guys what aired on the news 9 years ago. Yes, 9 years.
And now we're learning that scientists and researchers are looking at how to change the weather on purpose. That's right. Lasers now could one day manipulate rain and lightning. See, I mean, lasers? Really? To change the weather?
That's right. Well, as Mark Twain once famously said, everyone complains about the weather, but no one ever does anything about it. Well, instead of doing
Everyone complains, but no one does anything about it. But don't you worry, because they're doing something about it. Wow.
You want to know the best thing about America? It's the fact that there's so many different types of people that simply want to be seen, that simply want to be appreciated, that simply want to be able to have the same amount of success as other humans that bleed the same exact way as they do. Where would we be without certain people in America? And I know so many people are going to be angry at me without me having to do much at all, honestly. They have different colors, by the way. And there's another hat where you can actually put the stitch on the side, and there's like 14 different flags. It's the most beautiful thing ever. You know exactly where to go.
Matrix movie, they say that they put humans in so that they're basically human batteries and that they can harvest our electricity and energy from our bodies. But originally in the film, it was supposed to be neural processing. It was the studio that changed it to humans are like batteries, because they thought that would make more sense to audiences. So really, in the canon Matrix timeline, humans are used for their brain power. And that's becoming a real thing now. They're now growing brains for bioprocessing. These small brains are called organoids. And they're basically a bunch of little children's brains that are grown in dishes. They're going to be used for bioprocessing. And this sounds like sci-fi or Black Mirror, but this is 100% happening. You actually are going to soon be able to pay for these little brains to process information for you. And I've been warning people about this for almost a decade that this is coming, and people never believed me. But we know eventually what this becomes. And what about these brains in these petri dishes? What if at some point they start to advance more? Because right now they only live for about 100 days at a time. But what about when they get them good and they live for years? And these brains, these organoids, what if they start to gain consciousness? What if they want to be free? Well, maybe they would keep them busy in some sort of simulated world like a Matrix. And that's why in my Matrix videos, when people ask me what I think, I say there's two likely scenarios. Either Neo is just a simulation and he's not real at all, Or he's a brain grown in a dish, and this is the reality that he's been fed. And when I said that, everyone thought it sounded like sci-fi, but here we go. It's starting. And to most people that are outside of electronics and computing, they want to know, why would it be advantageous to grow a brain as opposed to using a computer? A computer is just trying to mimic the human brain, just like cameras are trying to mimic our eyes. So going to the source is always the best way to do it. And the fact is that biological computing is much more efficient than any kind of hardware base that we've created so far. So let's look at some numbers real quick. So if you're looking at electricity, if you use ChatGPT, each request takes about 2.9 watt hours. And most people don't just do one prompt on ChatGPT, it's multiple. And then even looking at something like a light bulb, that takes 60 watts of electricity to run continuously. It's the desktop computer that people have in their homes that continuously draws 175 watts. A laptop is around 60 watts, but the human brain, whether you're awake or asleep, it uses about 12 watts. And our brain is not just some desktop running, our brains are supercomputers. And that's why they're starting to grow them. It's horrifying because very soon, we might just implement a matrix around these brains to keep them more passive. And it makes you wonder, is that what our world is? Are we all just brains in a petri dish? Are we also just organoids?
I mean, are we? The Matrix wasn't a movie, it was a documentary.
I am the police chief, Jim Hopper. Yes, the number that I gave you, yes. 6767. I will be here.
Whoa. Stranger Things. Something's up with that number, y'all. There's a reason that you got a bunch of 4 and 5-year-olds out here screaming at the top of the lungs all day for no reason. You ask them what's going on. I have my 13-year-old and my 11-year-olds up here, and we're trying to ask them questions, and they're like 6, 7, and I'm like 6, 7. I'm just playing. I ain't hit them, but that's what I wanted to do. I'm like 6, 7. What are you talking about?
Footage is coming out of Germany right now showing an airport absolutely blanketed in snow and an aeroplane which looks like it got bloody frozen in the middle of taking off. Yesterday, Munich had the largest snow day in December since records began, and it seems that this plane may have tipped backwards due to the huge amount of snow falling on its tail end. In fact, freezing temperatures have caused absolute chaos across Europe this week. Hundreds of flights have been grounded, there's been significant highway disruptions, trains, buses, and trams have been cancelled. A state of emergency was declared in Bulgaria after thousands of towns and villages were left without electricity. The UK was issued with a number of snow and ice warnings, and a number of sporting events were cancelled after the temperatures dropped as low as -12. In Austria and Switzerland, officials were forced to sound the alarm for potential avalanches. 10 people died in a snowstorm that rocked Ukraine, leaving people trapped in thousands of stranded vehicles. 4 people were reported dead in Moldova, 2 of which were recovered from cars buried in snowdrifts. Temperatures are forecast to rise again next week, but of course, I'll keep you guys updated.
The Exorcist, people don't know The Exorcist was actually written by the CIA. It's a CIA script.
What?
No. William Peter Blatty, he did psyops in Vietnam for the CIA. And then
what is the psyop that they're pushing with that? Oh, they're like, look at these crazy exorcisms.
well, the idea is to scare the shit out of people, to remind them that the devil's real and go back to church so that they don't turn to communism and atheism. For example, some of the work carried out by the Psychological Warfare Bureau, orchestrated by people like William Blatty and Tom Dooley, included staging Marian apparitions in Vietnam to support the anti-communist ideology. So extensive campaigns were carried out by the Catholic Relief Services and American psychological warfare teams to drive peasants south of the demilitarized zone by telling them, quote, "The Virgin Mary has departed from the north. Jesus and Mary want you to go south." I mean, that's literally what the CIA did in the Cold War.
That is incredible.
In the psyops.
Dude. I mean,
isn't that crazy?
I think when people say everything's fake and gay, they really don't understand how deep that statement really is.
The news to you, but scientists may have just shown that genetics dictate how smart you are. This new study in the International Cognitive Ability Journal just blew the doors off the old nature versus nurture debate. Researchers mapped thousands of tiny genetic mutations and tracked how well they predicted intelligence, cognitive ability, and education outcomes from childhood through adulthood. And here's the wild part. When they compare these scores between siblings, that means the same parents, the same school, and the same homes. These differences in their DNA predicted clear clear differences in their learning and overall achievements, meaning those tiny genetic differences weren't just noise, but they truly mattered. But it gets even deeper. The study highlighted that about half of those genetic influences worked through environmental pathways. This means your genetics don't just sit there passively, they actively shape your environment. For example, think about parents who naturally value learning based on their own genetics. They're more likely to fill the house up with books, pick schools that challenge their kids, and create an intellectually stimulating environment. Then there's what happens when a child presents with special talents early on. Teachers or mentors may notice and give them special praise or opportunities. And finally, as we grow, we tend to seek out things that naturally match our strengths, such as our choice of hobbies, friends, or career paths. Your genes and environment aren't separate forces fighting against each other. They're dancing together, amplifying each other over time, even within the same family. So instead of saying it's all genes or all environment, we need to see the big picture here.
The NASA twin study, we had an astronaut go to space for a whole year and had an identical twin stay on Earth. And we looked at every part of their bodies that we could to see what changed. Because it was the first time we'd been able to really understand what happens to the body in space. As soon as you get into space, there's thousands of changes. Many of these genes kind of like gears activating and changing and reconstructing how cells are responding to the radiation, the microgravity, the stressful environment. And the good news is that most of the changes actually do go back to normal within a few days or weeks of being back on Earth, but not all of them. Some of the ones that stayed on were actually the genes for bone formation, so he's still rebuilding the bones, we could see, and DNA repair, actually. We could see the repair process to get rid of the damage from the radiation takes not just a couple days, but can take weeks or even months to finish sort of the repair job of the body.
Did you know it takes approximately 400 repetitions to create a new synapse in the brain, which is a new habit, unless it is done through play, in which case it only takes between 10 and 20 repetitions.
Yo, at this point, Louisiana, baby, Louisiana not gonna be a state no more. Look at this. At this point, y'all, we just gonna be underwater. Louisiana gonna be called the ocean. Look at this, y'all. Look at this. My whole foot. Y'all, look at that. Look at that. So y'all telling me y'all don't think Louisiana gonna be underwater probably the next 3 years? Look at this, y'all. You'll think somebody left the hose pipe on. Like, do this make sense? At this point, we just underwater. We're already by the water. We underwater. And Florida gonna be next.
Can you please leave Florida out of this one, please? Leave Florida out of that. Okay? Thank you. Thank you so much.
They're saying that the poles are flipping and that because of that, the weather's getting crazy. What do you guys think about all that?
Listen up. So recently, Kirk Cameron came out saying that he denies that people are eternally, consciously tormented in hell if they die unsaved. So now he's saying that he believes in this thing called annihilationism. So this belief is that souls of the wicked or unrepentant will ultimately cease to exist, be destroyed or annihilated, rather than suffer conscious torment eternally in hell. So let's read 1 Peter chapter 3, starting with verse 18. For Christ also hath once suffered for sins, and the just for the unjust, that he might bring us to God, being put to death in the flesh, but quickened by the Spirit. So this is when Jesus died and he was man, by which also he went and preached unto the spirits in prison. So he went down to hell and spoke to the spirits there, which sometime were disobedient when once the long suffering of God waited in the days of Noah, while the ark was a preparing, wherein few, that is 8 souls, were saved by water. So these souls are from the days of Noah. And we know that Jesus' death was literal and him going to hell was literal. And as you see, these souls were from the days of Noah, and he went and preached to them. Therefore, they are still there. Matthew chapter 13, starting with 41. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them which do iniquity, and shall cast them into a furnace of fire, hell. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. If there is wailing and gnashing of teeth, these people are conscious. And if they are wailing...
Well, I know the Leviathan exists. So where would Leviathan be? Okay? Based off of satellite imagery, the imagery we have that we can trust, based off of accounts of people saying they've heard some pretty crazy stuff out in the ocean, they're saying, coincidentally, which I find is strange, it's around South America somewhere. That's where it wraps all the way up and around. Now notice, with Trump, we're gearing up to go to war with South America in a sense, with Venezuela, and it's going to turn into, if we go to war with Venezuela, it's going to turn into a war, you know, a big war with South America in general, because they're going to ally up, you know, it's not going to be good. But I find it interesting that that's where, notably, a lot of people agree that's where Leviathan is. Now, with all of these earthquakes and stuff that's happening, they're saying it's because the Leviathan has been moving. Okay? So they're saying that's how massive the Leviathan is when it moves, it's causing the earth to shake. It's causing all of these earthquakes. Now, I'll bet you, if you go look in those areas, or if you look where the most seismic activity is happening, it's a good way to trace where is the sea creature actually at.
Do you think it's possible Asmongold is of Jewish descent because his name is Zechariah? This whole thing might be a Mossad psyop. Yep, that's right, guys. Israel did this. Asmongold, Goldstein. Uh-oh.
Well, here is some encouraging news. According to the report, 15,000 churches are expected to close down this year, and 29% of Americans now identify as religiously unaffiliated. This is a massive cultural shift taking place away from religion. And as usual, the charge is being led by women.
I was insecure about myself. I had a lot of money and cars and clothes and hoes and shit. And a lot of love, but you can't hide from the way you feel. You can't. It's not possible. You can smoke as much weed, you're gonna go right back to your natural self when that shit wear off. You gotta face that shit. You gotta face your demons.
What do y'all think? Everything he just says, spam it up.
Facts you won't believe, part 1. Dendrophilia is the sexual arousal from trees. The odds of being struck by lightning are 1 in 600,000. More people are allergic to cow's milk than any other food. Man is the only animal that cries.
This is somebody's tooth inside of their eye, helping them see better. That's right, you heard me right. They take their tooth, take the pulp of the tooth, and insert a plastic lens with a prescription in there, and insert it in their cheek. While it lives in the cheek, they can build blood vessels inside the pulp of that tooth, so when they take it out and implant it in the eye, it'll survive. Some research shows that it can last up to 50 years. It's crazy. If you want to see real cases of this is a video of someone that had this procedure done. She was blind and then had this procedure. She's walking around and seeing well with this lens inside of her eye that's in a tooth. Crazy. Have you ever heard of this?
Have you? First time hearing this, that's wild.
I told you we were all born with a multidimensional compass, which allows us to measure what's truly important in life. As the shaman Don Juan noted in Carlos Castaneda's work, quote, "Look at every path closely and deliberately. Try it as many times as you think necessary. Then ask yourself alone one question. Does this path have a heart? If it does, the path is good. If it doesn't, it is of no use." The heart is a springboard to higher levels of consciousness, and most people underestimate how powerful it can be. Your eyes are how your physical body sees, while the heart is how your soul sees. If you want to truly be happy in life, you must learn how to stay attentive to the sense organ of the soul. Learning to listen to your heart also usually requires turning off the logical, rational part of your brain, as the heart does not work causally and logically. It is beyond that. This work also usually requires a good amount of deprogramming in order to sort out which of your, quote, desires are actually due to societal programming versus what actually comes from deep within your soul. And the vast majority of people don't do this work, so they stay continuously disconnected and unfulfilled. Also, the energetic blockages holding us back in life are oftentimes due to an inability to forgive not only others, but also ourselves, a problem which can usually be ameliorated by reconnecting to the heart and choosing to act from a place of love.
People are finding things to do, though.
1, 2, 3!
Yeah, and it ain't raining candy either.
Wonka, slide in, can go ding, drip swing, river looking thick like a caramel string, rainbow grin with a lolly on the skin, bar melt slow while the beat got a sweet sting, velvet I glide, gold rings like chimes.
I'm honestly tired of food. Like, food isn't fooding anymore. I don't know what to eat that is going to be safe to put into my body. I go into the store, I don't see food anymore. Everything just looks like overpriced chemicals that has poison in it, almost. I feel like I have to read labels before I purchase anything, because if you look on the back of a lot of these labels, like, it literally has like a chapter full of ingredients in them that we shouldn't be eating and that is going to keep us sick, that's going to keep us down, and it almost feels like it's safer to just not eat or eat as little as you can possibly get away with, almost. Then if you want to eat healthy or properly fuel your body, it's literally a luxury now. Like, all of the shit that they have for, I guess, quote-unquote poor people is literally meant to break your body down and cause, like, malnutrition and all of these types of fucking health problems. I'm not really sure if it's just me or if any of you guys resonate with this, but it's like, I'm tired of not knowing what I'm putting into my body is going to make me sick or not. Food is off.
The whole world is finding out all of our food is Soylent Green. What do y'all think about that?
Saying that, you know, the angels were jealous of human beings because they were going to be exalted higher than them. That comes from the myth of Adapa, ancient text that's talking about human beings, us, being created at a higher level, but not knowing we were, than the Anunnaki themselves. We have to tap back into our DNA. We have to tap back into our, what they're calling junk, and plug it back in. We have to tap into our pineal gland and our higher consciousness. We have to tap back into our frequencies. Get back on the frequency mode of love, understanding, empathy, service to others. And also then tap into all of our innate gifts that we naturally have. Things that they had to enhance with technology were built into our avatar bodies. Psychic abilities, telekinesis, intuition, all these the extrasensory perceptions that we don't think we even know exist in our bodies, but they're there, just lying dormant, waiting for us to tap back into them. So did the Anunnaki create human beings? Not exactly. They genetically modified our ancestors, which turned us into Homo sapiens sapien. And in actuality, all of us are Anunnaki because we all have the DNA of these beings running through our veins today. So every person on this entire planet is an alien.
To have right now, or if you really wanted that kidney, or you really wanted to go over here to what is it, Dubai or what, you really wanted a new life. You went through certain channels to get that life.
Yeah.
You knew what the consequences was.
Do people though?
Yes, they do. That's his whole game. It's to make sure you know what you're gonna do. Right now is the time for righteousness, bro. Some people really play the game of, okay, well, I'm gonna look at this face and I'm gonna ask all these questions, but at the same time, I really don't even have to ask all these questions. I need to ask other questions. You see what I'm saying? We can't go back. We can only go forward after everything that we've already done. Every time you wake up, you choose to be good or you choose to be bad. That's me too. We all in this room have a choice to wake up and be good or be fucked up. I try my best to not be fucked up based off of the fact that I know I have boundaries. Regardless of what has happened to me, regardless of what's been done to me, I have to be a child of God. That's why I'm not allowed in certain rooms. That's why I'm not allowed to touch people. I'm not allowed to hug people. I'm not allowed to kiss people. I'm not allowed to have sex. I'm not allowed to see my family. I'm not allowed to do. I'm not allowed, bro.
Who's not allowing?
I'm not allowed. This is not. No, don't go there. I'm not allowed to. I'm not allowed to. They're not ready. No, spiritually, they're not ready to deal with me. I have to seclude myself. Do you have the power to seclude yourself?
So you're moving yourself away from.
Do you have the power to seclude yourself?
So you're saying you willingly moved your way.
I have to make sure that my peace is protected, my brother. There's everyone watching me every single moment when I think they're not.
I'm a psychologist who studies dark personalities. And And here's the #1 rule I tell my students about spotting dark personality traits. A dark personality is characterized by being callous and manipulative. So if they encounter one lie, callous act, or selfish move, that isn't a dark personality. Dark personalities act this way consistently across time and context. So if you want to know if someone is psychopathic, narcissistic, or Machiavellian, act like a scientist and keep gathering data. It's the simplest way to know what you're dealing with. Look for patterns, not someone's worst day.
If someone touches the B-2 bomber with their bare hands, it can ground the aircraft for weeks. You see, the B-2's coating isn't regular paint. It's made up from 225 different materials designed to absorb radar energy instead of reflecting it. But when skin oils contaminate the surface, they mess with how the coating absorbs radar waves. The contaminated areas start reflecting radar back instead of absorbing it, which defeats the entire point of a stealth bomber. The section has to be completely stripped and recoated. This can take up to 80 hours of work in a special hangar. With only 19 operational B-2s in the inventory, losing even one for repairs is a big deal. That's why maintenance crews always wear specialized gloves.
You guys believe in ghosts?
I want everybody to know, if you're listening, our brains have not physically changed in 200,000 years. No new wrinkles or anything. There's nothing really different about our brain. And we tend to think, we want to tell ourselves that our brain is a truth-seeking mechanism, it's wired to seek the truth. It is the opposite of that. Our brain's job is to keep us alive and search for things that we already think are true. So your brain is basically a defense attorney, and their job is to prove you right all the time. And once we understand that, I'm going to start looking at other things. So I'm either A, well-informed, or B, I'm not going to consume one-sided, narrative-based media.
Morbid Facts, Part 831. Susan King spent 6.5 years in prison for a murder she couldn't possibly have committed. She had one leg, weighed under 100 pounds, and didn't even own a car. Yet police claimed she beat, shot, and dragged a man before tossing his body off a bridge 40 miles away. The lead detective built the entire case on lies, fake ballistics, drag marks that were actually water damage, and blood evidence that never matched the victim. And investigators later admitted they had doubts about her guilt before it even went to trial. But terrified of facing life in prison or the death penalty, Susan took a plea deal and went to prison for murdering a man she never even laid her hands on. Years later, a different man confessed in detail to the murder, even describing facts never released to the public, and even claimed the same detective threatened him to stay quiet. Only then was Susan exonerated, and the state eventually paid her $750,000. The detective who framed her never faced charges. He simply retired while under investigation for unrelated sexual misconduct.
Let me tell you something that should make every single person in this country sick to their stomach. ICE just admitted out loud that it illegally held 400 children. Not for a day over the limit, not for a week, some for 5 months. Children locked up for longer than the court says is even remotely legal. And wait, because it gets worse. Much, much worse. Court filings say kids were fed moldy food, broccoli with worms crawling in it. A child had an eye injury and ICE let them bleed for 2 days without medical care. Another child's foot was broken because staff dropped a metal pole on it. That is not a detention system. That is state-sanctioned child neglect. That is abuse. And while all this is happening, ICE quietly stuck families in hotels, sometimes longer than the court allowed 72 hours, with no explanation at all. The law says 20 days. ICE said screw it and held kids for 168, nearly half a year. Babies, toddlers, teenagers. And while the Trump administration tries to end the very agreement designed to protect these children, and the rules and accountability so that this can get even worse, a judge now has to decide whether to intervene because ICE clearly won't police itself. And if this is what they're openly admitting, imagine what they aren't saying. This is not immigration policy. This is not order. This is cruelty, deliberate, systematic cruelty toward children. And if that doesn't enrage you, you are not paying attention.
This is evil on all accounts and it needs to stop. We need to put a stop to it, y'all. What do y'all think? Spam it in the comments.
Well, y'all, it looks like the shutdown is here. Let's talk about what that means. So as of tonight, Congress has failed to pass a new federal budget, and the White House Office of Management Budget, OMB, that's what you've heard me call it, has ordered all agencies to begin official shutdown procedures. Now, this means unless lawmakers return and agree on a new funding bill before midnight tonight, then the United States government will partially shut down at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So what we're looking at is about maybe 3 hours from now, 2.5, maybe 3 hours from now. So the Senate actually rejected a temporary funding bill, H.R. 5371, earlier this evening. Meanwhile, this is what I was talking about earlier. Meanwhile, House Republicans adjourned. They were like, we out, without reconvening for new votes. Now, the OMB, Office of Management Budget, led by Director Russell Vought, sent a memo instructing agencies to execute their plans for an orderly shutdown. Now, that memo also directed federal employees to report to work only long enough to close out operations and process furloughs or perform their essential duties.
That dude's name, his name was Ball. His name was B-A-A-L.
Oh.
That's what the man's name. When we met the man, people ask me, have I ever met the devil? I'm not going to say I met the devil, but we met somebody. We met one of them. And he made me real uncomfortable, bro.
Was he in human form?
He was a white dude with blonde hair. He had a gray suit. And I always wear a cross. He stared at my cross and was frowning at me. And he made me so uncomfortable. I felt like I was a sheep next to an alligator. And
you think that's what protected you?
I know for a fact, bro. I know for a fact because he made a comment. He says, "What are you doing wearing that in here?" And I'm looking at this dude like, I'm like, bro, I'm lethal with these hands and feet, bro. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not. But with this person, I said, man, I don't know. Like,
you're like, this is a different.
This
level.
is something different, and he made me real uncomfortable, bro. I never felt fear like that. It was not even fear. It was like, yo, this is a different type of predator.
It's probably a reptilian, man. Be easy, son. Be easy.
After you die, they put a plug up your exit only to make sure that you're not leaking out fluid during the embalming and the ceremony. Also, if you get buried, unless you are Jewish, there's a very real possibility that your casket will never touch dirt. If you're cremated, a lot of people get ashes turned into jewelry. When most people are buried, their head is either facing north or facing west, and their feet are either facing south or facing east. Although these are commonly called headstones, they are not actually named headstones, they are burial monuments. Different cultures have different burial customs, such as Hmongs prefer to be buried on Mondays. They'll be booked out 3 or 4 months in advance just to make sure they get it on Monday. Islamic burials are put in a bottomless burial vault, and they are laid on their side so they are directly facing east. Jewish burials have dirt thrown inside of the burial vault on top of the casket before it is closed. Monuments like these cost way more than you would like to think. In most places, your gravedigger is not actually the one that puts your body in the ground. They just dig the hole and they fill it back in. Some funeral directors only do the actual funeral, while others do the embalming, the preparation, and the funeral. A lot of places do not require a certain type of container when you're cremated. So when you are buried after cremation, I've seen people in basketballs, in footballs, in toolboxes, in tackle boxes, kind of whatever they want. You guys want to know more about funerals, cemeteries, anything like that? Go ahead, leave questions or comments right there and I'll try and get to them.
Albert Einstein, when he was 4 years old, his father gave him a birthday gift of a compass. And he was just mesmerized by this compass. The idea that there are invisible forces out there in the cosmos moving this needle. And he's obsessed with the idea of invisible forces. Steve Jobs, when he was like 7 or 8 or maybe younger, his father, they passed by a store with technological devices in the window. And he was just hypnotized by the design of those devices and the glass tubes and everything. So he wanted to go in that direction. Tiger Woods saw his father hitting golf balls in the garage, and he was just like screaming with joy. He had to do that. You know, I could give you a million different examples of this. But what happens to you is you're 7, now you're getting older, and you're starting to not hear that voice anymore. You're hearing the voice of your teachers telling you, you're not good at this field. You need to get better at math. You shouldn't be interested in these sports or anything. You should be going this direction. Your parents are starting to tell you this is the career they want for you, or the direction they want you to go in, right? You start hearing that more than your own voice. And as you get older, it gets worse and worse and worse. So all of these noise enters your brain and you can't hear that anymore. You don't know who you are. And so you go to college, you kind of maybe choose a major that seems practical that your parents want you to go into. Maybe you kind of wander around, you're not sure. And then you enter the work world without that inner radar that I'm talking about. And you, brother, you're lost, right? Where should I go? Well, I need to make money. And so you make a choice based on the need to make a lot of money. Not everyone, but some people do that. And I understand that need. We all need to make a living, but that can set you off on a very bad path because you're not connected emotionally. The thing is, when you figure out that primal inclination, that grain that's inside of you, then you have the energy to be disciplined, to go through boring tasks, to learn. You learn at a faster rate because you're emotionally engaged. When you're emotionally engaged in a subject, the brain learns twice, 3 times, 4 times as fast.
666, mind, body, soul in the mix, not a curse, it's a code, energy and triple bliss. 666, let your spirit take control, balance in the center, harmony is gold. 666, body, mind, soul. 666, let it all roll.
What Discord server are these kids sending? Like, what do you think gives them the gall to do that?
I mean, I'm in multiple servers, so I can't name them all.
God, what's the subject matter of the servers?
What do you mean, the subject of the matter?
Like, I know some Discord servers are about like the NFL, some are about gaming. Like,
all my servers are gaming and furry. So all my servers.
Gaming and furry. Okay. Do you think they send more furry stuff or the gaming stuff?
Furry stuff.
Oh, I guess that makes sense. I guess furries. Define what a furry is. I've heard of it. I don't actually kind of know it.
They're an independent person.
They're an independent person.
Yeah, they have their own style.
Okay. Is furry like a kink kind of?
No, it's a lifestyle.
Lifestyle. That makes sense. Are a lot of furries fairies?
Fairies?
Yeah.
What do you mean fairies?
Is there like a, just kind of a, I was making a play on words, kind of like LGBT. Is that like kind of a crossroads with furry? Okay.
Most of them.
Cool.
Some of them are straight. But
Okay.
Most of them, 90% of them are gay and bisexual and trans and whatnot.
Got it. So it's just kind of like a community for them to get together and stuff.
Super awkward. You got busted, buddy.
Were you guys trying to get on or no? Yeah. What are you trying to do?
Make something like 140.
Like a drill beat or what kind of beat?
Nah, not really.
What do you like at 140? Like who do you listen to?
Some different kind of shit, bro.
Some different
kind of shit.
Okay, I like that.
Maybe something like this, you know, like.
Oh, this is good. I like this. Okay.
Yo. I know I look good, on my shit proper, why they giving out bad looks? Best foot forward, stepping correct, can't get caught on a back foot. Got a good heart, but she ripped it apart, and the last one called me sadistic. It ain't my problem, I ain't interested, I always been with the misfits. She's 39, but she's just my type, in a new shape coupe, same colour as Sprite. This pure cocaine, this Pepsi, white ass, what's my type, this sexy. She giving out looks, and I wanna cook, told her save this number, but I can't do groupies, way too spooky, why you tryna fuck on my summer? I'm always moody, it still can't move me, see my face on the cover. Real life talking or online texting, face to face 100. I've been on the grind, it's tiring, but I still got a graph, get mining. What you know about doing up mileage? What you know about style, I'm stylish. I've been on billboards, been on flyers. Mix this work, it's perfect science. Mixed with the movers, not with the liars. I'm in a rave, England top, that's Martin Rose. Mushroom drops and classy clothes. She bad and bougie, tryna get noticed. Take it one night, but I gotta stay focused. Morning time, gotta roll like stone. Rolling stone, I'm rock and rolling. Cartier bangle, 6 is golden. Wanna buy in, but I told him.
What is going on, bro?
Stay still. This is insane.
I need answers on this one, bro. I need answers. I've seen two-headed people before. Alright? I even seen a video, right? Where this dude was from another country. I wasn't sure where it was at, but he had an arm and an elbow, the whole arm coming out of his chest. And a little baby leg at the bottom. Bruh. Is this real? This the first time I ever seen a two-headed bear, bruh. I'm flabbergasted. This is crazy. Yo, I just don't know what to say about these videos no more. Don't be mad at me. I just find the videos and we're going to expose the truth. I do this for educational and entertainment purposes only. Yo, this bear has 2 heads, bro. Something's wrong here, man. Leave it in the comments, hit the like button, and make sure y'all follow me here for more, bro. It's getting spooky out here.
They're testing body cameras that scan your face for warrants just for walking past them. Axon, the company that makes tasers, is running the first test in the world right now in Edmonton, Canada. Here's how it works. A cop walks past you, their body camera scans your face, it checks you against a database of people with warrants or safety flags. You don't have to do anything, you just have to exist near a police officer. The Electronic Frontier Foundation says this destroys privacy for anyone who happens to walk past a cop. Axon paused this technology in 2019 because their own ethics board said it was too dangerous. Now they're testing it anyway. Today it's Canada, but Axon is the biggest supplier for body cameras for police departments in America.
When you join the CIA, the first thing they teach you is to stop leaning. Apparently, Americans are the only ones around the world that lean, and it's an easy tell in the spy world if someone is an American. So they teach you not to do it.
And just like that, the mysterious fog is back. Now, it's been reported that a 400-mile-long radiation fog blankets 13 million Americans in California. And if you guys remember, the same time last year where we had this mysterious fog covering over 30 states where there's reports of residue, weird smells, well, this time there's even more dots connect. Now, they're calling it radiation fog due to when the ground cools off quickly after sunset, radiating all the heat back into the air after the fall and winter. Here's why they're calling it dangerous. They're saying the toxic particles from factories and car exhaust get trapped in the fog, which causes various respiratory problems. Basically, they're saying this fog doesn't move, it just stays on top, like spraying aerosol in a bowl and putting a top on it. But are we buying any of this? Because for one, that doesn't sound right. Two, here's a US patent for processing apparatus for the production of intense artificial clouds, fogs, and mist. And here's what that apparatus looks like for good measure. Coincidence? Let's keep going. Now, speaking of weather and radiation, just last week, they grounded over 6,000 Airbuses due to solar radiation impacting their flight systems. There's even reports of a JetBlue flight that lost altitude, injuring over a dozen people because of this. Not to mention, Julian Assange actually warned us about this back in 2018.
Intelligent evil dust scattered everywhere like confetti in everything.
Now, on one hand, they could be manipulating the weather to the point of no return where our atmosphere is completely cooked, resulting in things like this. There's a nationwide Arctic blast set to hit possibly new record lows across 15 states. Or it could be one big psyop that we're falling for again because the Illuminati card game that predicted everything in the last 30 years strikes again. I mean, you have the International Weather Organization card, you have the weather satellite card that reads, real weather satellites don't just report the weather, they change it. You can't make this up. Make sure you guys hit up my YouTube, The Maverick Approach, but
Olha o mar subindo! Tá vindo pra cá! Caramba!
Gente, tá estranho, o mar
Meu
tá
Deus,
subindo.
o mar tá indo embora!
Meu
Caramba!
Deus, o mar tá
Corre,
subindo.
corre! Vai, vai, vai!
Well, y'all got to see what I got to see. I appreciate you hanging out with me, watching us react together. Make sure you smash that subscribe button and press on the notification bell to stay up to date with the latest reacts. And drop your comments below, y'all. Thanks for watching this whole react from beginning to end. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.